Joining us now over the phone is Jenny Watson. He's the CEO of Digital Asset Monetary Network. Their stock symbol is DATI. Jenny, welcome back to the program.
Thank you for having me, Don.
Now, we've been talking about your company for some time. I thought we might go back to the beginning with respect to understanding the business model. Can you describe it for it, please?
Yeah, I realize that people just don't seem to get it, but I noticed that with old school, if you will, old school investors, they're very familiar with a 90s company called CMGI, which was a powerhouse incubator at that time. I think at its peak it had nearly 100 investments, 20 subsidiaries, 1.5 billion in annual revenue. It was a huge company, but it was an incubator for the most part. And that's essentially what we do. We are an accelerator incubator, but essentially we're a little bit more progressive than CMGI was. They incorporated a two-phase strategy, which was first to incubate, second to invest. We incorporate a four-phase model, which is to accelerate, incubate, acquire, and spin off. This gives us the ability to build the most value from our equity portfolio and sustain it. So, we primarily focus on the accelerate phase, Don, right now. We have several portfolio and client companies and one strategic venture in our pipeline. So we're doing pretty well from that standpoint. But we are I guess for traders, they know CMGI.
Interesting.
And that's essentially what we would be akin to some degree.
Well, we've spoken to a number of the companies that you work with. One of those was Transatlantic Real Estate, which was very successful. Tell us about that. Well, Transatlantic Real Estate is not actually a portfolio company of ours, nor a client company directly. However, they are listed on Fundana. Fundana is our cannabis-focused Reg CF. It's an equity crowdfunding portal. It's owned and operated by TrueCrowd, which is one of our portfolio companies. And, I mean, they're doing tremendously well. Transatlantic Real Estate, I'm not sure if it was 6 weeks ago, 7 weeks ago when they actually launched, but they've raised over $700,000 so far. And that's big for us, right? That's big for the company because that, that's 70% of what they can raise, the maximum they can raise. And that does a lot for DATI and TrueCrowd in terms of value, in terms of revenue and valuation. Well, Jenny, tell us about the differences between client companies and portfolio companies.
Yeah, sure. I mean, differences are important. The client companies, we don't necessarily need to have an equity stake in those companies. We think these companies are really interesting and have good value potential, so we take them on as clients without making an initial investment commitment. BitSense, who was on your show, that's a good example of a company that's only a client company. We just work with those companies and not mentor, if you will, but provide various consulting services. Portfolio companies are businesses where we initially we begin with an investment commitment because we believe these companies already have legs. They're already good investments. They have good management. They have MVP. They're just all-around good companies. So the portfolio companies, they do not need to be client companies. They may not ever even become client companies. We just like them enough to have made the initial investment. Work Done, which was also interviewed by you, Work Done is an example of both. We began with Work Done as a client company, and then we went on to make a funding commitment of 10% of their Reg CF raise. Now they funded over 80%. We funded over 80% of that so far, and so they are a portfolio company, and we're very happy with that company, of course.
Once again, Digital Asset Monetary Network, stock symbol DATI. I wish we had more time with Jenny. Such an exciting company. We'll be talking to you again very soon. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Don.
Take care.